Closure isn't a thing. Before you debate me on it, watch today's video and then let me know if I changed your opinion. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and today we're going to be talking about closure and how to actually move forward without the need for this closure. So when we're talking about closure, people in society, they often will say, "Ugh, I can't let this go. I need some closure. I need some answers. And then I'll finally be able to let it go." So when they think of closure, they think they're going to get answers to something or the pain will stop and then they'll be able to move on. And I remember even in high school, I always thought closure seemed a little bit like a silly idea because like my friends, they would break up with their boyfriends and they would come to me and be like, "Oh, I need to talk to him. I just need some closure." And I'd be like, "Sis, what closure do you need? He cheated on you with your mom, your sister, and your uncle. Like, what do you need after that? What closure? What could actually help you with that?" Now, of course, I'm being dramatic. Of course, he didn't hook up with the mom, but I'm being dramatic about that too. But that goes to show you that we feel we need something outside of ourselves in order to feel better. So maybe you need an ex to tell you that it wasn't you, but it was them. Maybe you feel like you need to know every little detail in order to understand why someone had passed. Or you may want to hear every detail of when someone cheated on you or why this certain thing didn't happen. Now, it may help stop with some of the rumination, maybe some of the thoughts you're having, but it doesn't help with the actual pain you're experiencing. So the reason why we feel like we need some sort of closure is because it's a way for us to feel in control of something negative that had happened. And we're having a hard time accepting that it happened. This goes into Schultz psychology, where when we see an image of a circle that's slightly opened, we still see it as a circle, which that goes to show that we as humans, we need things to be closed. This is because humans like happy endings. We don't want to experience pain and rejection. So we find ways to avoid feeling these feelings, but actually is closing ourselves off from being able to deal with these negative experiences in healthier ways. It creates this delusion that you need this closure in order to feel better or to move on. Or maybe you hope that it will work out, or you hope that it's not real. And so it's a way for you to stay, like if you're going through a breakup, to stay in touch with that person, and it gives you a little bit of hope. But if you really think about it, when you go and get that closure, it may give you a temporary relief, but you still will feel that pain. You'll still have questions, so you still may ruminate on the things that they told you. And you may want to reach out again for more closure. Because if you really think about it, there's just certain things you'll never get closure from. For instance, childhood abuse. How do you really get closure from that? Like, oh yeah, mommy and daddy weren't healthy and so they unintentionally or they intentionally hurt you. So then what? You're like, oh, I have that closure. Okay, I'm ready to move on. Like, no, that stuff hurts. Like, are you okay after that? No. They actually did a study where, you know how when people go through trauma, they talk to an empty chair and they act like they are talking to the person that has hurt them. Studies showed that it temporarily helped with their pain, but it didn't help long term because they didn't go through the process of being able to really grieve. It was just a moment maybe in their grieving process, but it really couldn't give them that closure that they were looking for. So that's why closure is this imaginary thing we have created where it's a story we tell ourselves where we're like, oh yeah, when I get this closure, I'll feel better. But you're basically, you're tricking yourself into thinking that you'll feel better. And some people do. I'm not going to pretend like, you know, people don't, but it's because they tell themselves they feel better. It's kind of like a placebo effect. And it's all because we like to have that delusion that everything's okay and, you know, there is happy endings. As harsh as that sounds, I feel like I'm the Grinch right now. So you're still dealing with that loss, or you still have questions. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when asking questions helps. Like, for instance, when you go through a breakup and you want to understand, like, why did you guys break up? So that way you can learn what to work on within yourself so it doesn't happen in the future. If someone suddenly passes, it can help you to understand what happened that caused their death. So I wouldn't identify really that as closure. I would identify that as clarity. I have to interrupt this video because in the next couple clips, my eye is tearing and it's smudged and it looks like I have a black eye. So no, I didn't get in a fight in the middle of the video. It's just my allergy. But it's okay, we're gonna roll with it. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. So if that's the case, how do you get like this closure? How are you able to actually move forward? And really it comes down to being real with yourself and accepting that this negative thing did happen. So that closure you're looking for comes from yourself. So really you have to see what has happened and be like, you know what, this sucks. It sucks I got cheated on. It sucks and it's so painful that I lost someone that I didn't want to lose, and it sucks that I lost out on this opportunity, and it sucks that this happened or that happened. It just is horrible and I'm so mad or I'm so sad. Allow yourself to admit that. Don't close up those emotions and try to make yourself not feel these things. Go through all your thoughts. Admit that you don't understand why it happened or you feel like it was your fault. Admit all of these things to yourself. Admit that you don't want to accept it. Admit that you feel like it's unfair. Once you admit these things, then you stop trying to create that delusion that you can close this off and the pain will go away. You accept that this pain is here to stay and it's pain you unfortunately need to get yourself through. And then you're going to be okay by working through this pain. You will eventually get to a point where you feel better, but allow yourself to feel this pain. And accept that you never always going to 100% understand why something happened, or you're not gonna 100% have all the details. And sometimes it's better that way. If we always find out all the details, it can cause us to have even more pain, or it can cause us to just constantly ruminate on those details. For instance, if you had someone that cheated on you, and if you know every little detail, you may play it in your mind over and over again. And every time you play it in your mind, you're re-experiencing that pain. So you're reopening that wound, so you're not really able to move on. And you have to ask yourself, how does really knowing these details help you? It may give you a temporary comfort where you're like, oh, I don't have to question like what happened, but at the same time you're just taking one pain and turning it into another pain. So it is about picking your poison. So you have to pick your poison of, would you rather ruminate and like imagine these details over and over again, or would you rather say, you know what, I don't know what happened and it's okay, I don't have to know what happened. It actually would be more painful for me to know the exact details what happened. Now picking your poison, obviously it's all a choice. I know some people are gonna fight me like, no, I'd much rather know all the details. Then just understand, when you know all the details, it will probably cause you to ruminate and it could make you feel worse about yourself. And you also need to allow yourself, when it comes to your emotions, just allow yourself to grieve without guilt and shame. A lot of people are going to have their own opinions, and you know, you're going to shame yourself of like, oh, I should be over it by now. It's pathetic that I haven't gotten past this and whatever. But the reason why you're grieving for a long period of time is, one, because you need it, or two, because you maybe are still looking for this closure or looking for a way to make yourself feel better, rather than accepting the reality that this hurts and it sucks and it's okay for it to suck. Allow yourself to feel those emotions. You may be distracting yourself from really feeling these emotions, or you may be not really dealing with it in a healthy way. This stuff hurts. Like for instance, with rejection, it's been known that the part of your brain that lights up when you feel physical pain also lights up when you feel rejection. It has a physical effect on you. So these things can be very painful, but you can't run away from them. It's something you just have to experience and grieve over. So you have to understand, pain doesn't always just end. It gets easier to deal with, or the pain changes into different feelings. Like for instance, when you lose a child, that's a pain that, I mean, I can't imagine, but it's a pain that you probably will feel for the rest of your life. And it's not going to feel as extreme as the first day you dealt with it, and it will get a little bit easier to deal with, but that pain will still be there. And same when you deal with not having the parents that you always wish you had, that pain will still be there. but over time it may get easier to deal with, and there's going to be moments where you go through different phases, and that's also part of the grieving process. You may never get to that acceptance phase, and that's okay. You don't always have to go through all the different stages of grief. Everyone deals with those things differently, but never shame yourself for feeling your feelings. That's the number one thing you need, is to feel your feelings. Now the next thing that helps when you need to move forward or you need to move on is looking at the things that you learned from that horrible experience. Now I know it may be hard now because you're like, what the hell could I possibly learn from losing this person, or what could I learn from dealing with a breakup? But there's always lessons you can learn. Like maybe you learn that you need to listen to your intuition better. Maybe you learn that you have some unhealthy traits that you need to work on for your next relationship. There's always something you can learn. So try to identify what is something that you learn from this experience that you can take it with you in your future, so that way you don't sit there feeling like a failure or sitting in that negativity, but you feel like you can see something from that experience, as hard as that is. The next thing is you choose to move on. Now it's a little bit different when you're dealing with death, so I'm gonna say, you know, this isn't entirely what has to do with death, but when I'm talking about breakups, that 100%, or like when you're dealing with negative things, like you didn't get a job or whatever it is, you didn't get something you had wanted, it is now a choice to move on and how you deal with it moving forward. So you can definitely choose to sit and sulk, and you can choose to feel like everything bad's happening to you, or you can sit constantly pondering all of these questions that you may never really get the answers to, or you can choose to accept sometimes you just won't know things, and that's okay, and moving on with it. But all in all, the way you deal with negative things is a mindset. Now don't get me wrong, when you're dealing with breakup and a loss, don't be afraid to feel your feelings. Like I talked about, it's so important to feel those feelings and just be real with yourself. But then after some time, that's when you can ask yourself, okay, am I sick and tired of sitting in this sadness? Do I feel like I'm ready to move on? But not in a guilt and a shame way, but in a kind, gentle way of you recognize when you are ready to move on and move forward. And when it comes to death, one thing is that when you are starting to move forward with your life, understand there's nothing wrong with keeping the person you have loved alive and talking about them. Don't feel like you have to completely close that part of your life, but don't think that you have to stay stuck in that place either, of not being able to have a life because they had passed. Death is such a tough topic, and I don't think there's any right or wrong way to really deal with it, unless like you're actually hurting yourself, then yeah, that's not the healthiest. But what I mean is like dealing with your emotions. I feel like when it comes to just allowing yourself to feel those emotions, there's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, don't guilt or shame yourself or make yourself feel like you're doing something wrong by making the choice to make a change. So what do you guys think? Did I change your mind on closure? Let me know. Or if I didn't, also let me know. Let me know all your opinions down below. But if you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, because I already said comment, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Oh my god, my guy, my friend, you're falling. Why are you not happy? Why do I have to cry? He's falling, he's falling. Let's try out this turtleneck thing. Maybe I'm using it to hide something. Maybe I'm hiding some hickeys. No, I'm just kidding. I never kissed anyone before. I never had my first kiss. You're not gonna start it. You're not. Charge yourself and shut up. I'm gonna return you if you don't stop. I'll throw you out. I don't care. Period. What did I say? Had like a head tilt, like a devil possessed me.